Now, I married a beautiful woman, but I didn't know whether she loved me for me, or whether she was marrying me for a green card, because I'm an American, and we think we're the greatest country in the world. That's irony. But I asked her, I said, are you marrying me for a green card, or do you love me? And I knew it was love, because she answered, no comprendo inglés, señor. And that was a beautiful moment, because she's Scottish.
My mum brought me up well. She used to give me really good advice when I was growing up when it came to relationships and stuff. She'd say things to me like, Gina, you should never trust a man. That's it. She always used to say to me, get the ring, get the ring. You must get them to marry you. Don't let them just sex you. Get the ring. And then she said to my brothers, never give them a ring. Don't let them get you. Don't give them a ring. Don't.
Why is it that all good-looking men have personality defects? I'm convinced that when a bloke reaches 15, he looks in the mirror and goes, I'm quite good-looking. I think I'll be a wanker for the rest of my life.
The women, you can't live with them because they won't let you.
I had to ring my girlfriend yesterday. You know, ring her, get out all the moisture. Not really, I had to ring her, you know, put a little metal clip around her ankle so I can find out where she goes for the winter.
My boyfriend said to me, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. I said, what? Haven't you ever been to Alton Towers?
Let me tell you something about women. They're very, you can get an attitude. A lot of women have said to me, I'm not gonna call you. And you know what I say to them? I say, don't call me. Don't call me. You think I need you to call me? I've had thousands of women not calling me. You're not so special.
I've nothing to hide. My sex life is an open book. Or increasingly these days, the internet.
Outside of women, books are men's greatest passion. Whilst inside a woman, it's impolite to read.
I don't really understand women. I mean, take that Miss World competition, for example. They always give it to the skinny girls, don't they? They don't look anything like the world.
I just wish my wife would just once treat me as a bit of a macho bastard. Just once I would love her to say to me, you're a self-centered, arrogant macho shit. But I want you to shag me. Instead, she looks at my naked body and goes, oh, sweet. You're never gonna leave me, are you?
I haven't always been single. I was engaged to be marred once. Sorry, married. But my fiancé gave me an engagement ring. He said, I've had something engraved on the inside. I thought, oh, that's so romantic. And I looked and it said, happy now.
Relationships are tough, especially for us men. We just have to field the weirdest questions, and they're not fair. It's like a trap. You know, do you like my breasts? Should I have bigger breasts? Would you like me more bigger breasts or my small breasts? I don't know, man. I don't know how to answer that question. I'm all for the naturalness, but to be honest, it's a bit like Coke or Pepsi. You know, we might state a preference, but we'll take whatever's on tap.
Do you like a man who gets along well with your family? Because I'm gonna bang your sister.
My favorite line from a film for this week is out of Gladiator. In the first 15 minutes, when the little sister chick, she's trying to get Maximus's attention, and he simply turns to her and goes, no, I'm tired from battle. How brilliant is that? It's hard to be a man in the new millennium, man. We used to get away with so much stuff. It used to be all right for us to come home, night out with the boys. There's our lady friend there, lying in bed. So, you know, if we've had a good night with the fellas, we try to wake her up, get a little action, you know. She shoots up in the bed. What the hell are you thinking about? We try to justify ourselves in our slightly drunken state. Well, I had a good night out with the fellas. Thought maybe I could come home and get a little action. Don't you ever think of my feelings first? Maybe I'm not interested. So I tried to be a man of the new millennium the other day. And I came home and I saw her there lying in bed. So I simply crawled in bed and cradled her through the evening. First thing in the morning, she shoots up in bed. What the hell was that about? And I tried to justify myself, saying, well, honey, I thought I'd prove that I had an emotional attachment to you ahead of the physical. Well, maybe I wanted sex. Well, sorry, how was I supposed to know this? Well, maybe you should read the signals, but you were sleeping. Well, it goes a lot deeper than that. Well, I don't know, try me. I love you, you're beautiful, I'm here to support you. Well, this is what it is then. You just don't support me enough and give me any compliments. But I just said that I love you and I'm here to... Don't you condescend me. I'm tired from battle.
How could I forget Shirley? A lovely young lady of the opposite sex. A man, then. No, a lesbian. Well, a transvestite. Widow Twankey. We were in Panto together. What a season. No, she was a girl. Well, a child, really. Well, she was 10. She was 10 stone, but she was only 6 years old. No, I'm joking, as if I'd go out with a 6-year-old that weighed 10 stone. I don't mind. I'm being silly. I don't mind them fat. I'm joking. She was an older woman. She was 24. She was 60. She retired. She came out of retirement especially for me. She went straight back in again afterwards. She was 77. She was 88 inches tall and made of wood, and she had a rusty nail in one end that squeaked. She was 95, in the shade.
I'm not that good at relationships. I had a guy call me a bitch the other day. I was like, who you calling a bitch? And then I peed on his leg.
The worst thing about being in a relationship for me is you have to remember all the trivia that your girlfriend tells you about herself months before. Because eventually, you get tested, don't you? It happened to me a couple of weeks ago, out of the blue. She goes, all right, what's my favourite flower? I was like, oh, fuck, I wasn't listening. Self-raising?
I like young women. I do. Because their stories are shorter.
Sometimes you just see a girl and think to yourself, wow, one day she is going to be an ex-girlfriend.
Eventually I decided I wanted to settle down, and I've been with my boyfriend for about 6 months now. You know, we're at the point where the arguments start and the blowjobs stop. Because you've got to train a man up, really. You know, like you do things like buy him new clothes. I mean, I've been out with boys who've had pants they've had since they were 12. You're there in the bedroom going, oh, Spider-Man's pleased to see me. How nice.
She was a bit of a gypsy, you know what I mean? Bit of a gypsy, bit of a hippie, bit of a hippo, to be honest. Yeah, she could breathe underwater. And on land, when she opened her mouth, birds flew in and pecked her teeth clean. Rough skin, though. Oh, she had a cheek, though. Oh, she had a nerve. One eye and a leg, that was all. She was a lady. She was a lay-by. She was an empty space in a council car park. She was a hard shoulder. She was a soft corner. She was a weak knee. She was a week late. She was a month overdue. She got pissed in the post office. They had to ask her to leave.
I think the mistake we made was to discuss our sexual fantasies with each other. Never do it. She went first. She said, Dan, don't think me weird, but I've got this one where I imagine we pretend we're complete strangers that we've never, ever met. And I said, what? And I pick you up in some sleazy bar. And she said, no, just the first bit. We imagine we're strangers and we've never, ever met. Then it was my turn, and of course blokes were all roughly the same underneath. I explained my favourite sexual fantasy. I'm taking a young lady from behind, and on each buttock with a marker pen, I draw a big eye, like that, and I rest a top hat just there, and it's like I'm being filleted by a Victorian engineer.
I don't know if you've seen The Mummy Returns. It's not a good film, apart from one thing. It's comment on relationships. Now, at the climax of the movie, Brendan Fraser and the mummy are hanging off this cliff face. And it's like I said, it's the climax, the roof's caving in, hell has opened below them, and stood across from them are Rachel Weisz and the mummy's bird. And they're going, what should we do? What should we do? What should we do? And Rachel Weisz runs in, pulls Brendan Fraser off the cliff face, and they hug, and it's a beautiful moment. And the mummy sees this and goes to his bird, help me, help me. And she just runs off like a real woman would.
The thing is, when you're in a relationship, right, with your girlfriend, at very first, you just, all you can think about is being a good lover, innit? And it's just like, oh, I want to make her come, I want to make her come, I want to make her come. 6 years on, I just want to make her go.
Hello.
Marvellous.
I went to a few dating agencies, but I was rejected from a couple because I wasn't considered suitable. One of them said to me, "So what are your hobbies?" And I said, "Crying." And they said, "No, what do you enjoy doing in life?" And I said, "Listen, if I enjoyed life, I wouldn't be here, would I?"
My girlfriend just had a breast reduction. They're now 60p each, 2 for £1.
But some of us women are getting a little bit desperate. You know, start going at guys we wouldn't have looked at 5 years ago. All the women with ugly men know what I'm talking about. You know who you are. If you wake up next to your other half in the morning and you're like this, oh, it's you. I'm talking to you. You do get desperate. You start going out to friends who've got boyfriends again. Look, has he got any brothers, cousins, children? You know when a woman's desperate when she says things like, look, as long as he's got both eyes. But it's not just us that are getting desperate. Some of the guys are as well, yeah? You got those guys that put ads in the paper, and they always lie, don't they? Tall. And you know he's about 4'2", tall, dark, handsome banker, working city, millions in the bank, house in the country, Porsche, looking for woman. And that's it. Must have good sense of humour. I wonder why.
She was a very tall woman, very thin. Thin? She was flat. She was made of paper, and when she got wet, she tore. She was athletic, you know what I mean? But she had small hands. Well, hooves, really. She was covered in fur, and she lived in a hole and ate worms. I've exaggerated. She was a beautiful woman. She was graceful. She was grateful. She was desperate. She was a princess. Well, she walked on air. She had very short legs. They didn't touch the floor. That's not true. She had very long legs. She walked on stilts. I had to use a ladder. I didn't. I stood in a chair. She bent down.
I wouldn't say I've got a relationship with God. It's just that International Church of Jesus got me again. Have you seen them? God, they're cunning. They start talking to you, and then they slip the old religious bit in. And before you know it, you're on a minibus to Milton Keynes with a tambourine in your hand. Got to be careful, happened to me. This man comes up to me, big, thick book in his hand. Now, I thought it was a Grattan catalogue, because there's a man on the front like this. And I know shrouds are in this season. He said, "Hey, where you going?" I said, "I'm off home." He said, "I'd like you to take someone home with you." Now, my head was spinning, because I live in a 2 up, 2 down. He says he's called Jesus and his disciples. Didn't click. Didn't click. I thought, well, I can go top to toe with Jesus and get the camp bed out for Judas. It's behind the wardrobe. And I could see him looking at me a bit strangely, do you know what I mean? So I sort of like made a joke out of it. I went, "Yeah, I'll be on my knees tonight, but I won't be praying." And he wandered off and vomited.
Woodlouse are great. Some of my best friends are Woodlouse. Lovely fellas, but you can't get them to open up.
I'm actually married, but it's not actually going that well. I think my marriage is going a little bit down the toilet. I think my wife's totally gone off me. She keeps running around the house saying stuff like, "You tell agency, you rich, you lie, me go back to Philippines."
You gotta treat other people the way you want to be treated. That's what the Bible says. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if I meet someone for the first time, I like to stick my finger in their tush, because I love that.
She was a bit of a hippie, do you know what I mean? Bit of a hippie chick. She had flowers in her hair. Well, she had flour in her hair and egg all around her mouth and milk down her front. Well, she was a messy eater. She was a happy eater. She was brightly coloured and overlit with moulded plastic seating. Very reasonably priced there. To be honest, she was free, but she accepted donations. Ah.